What is up, everybody? Welcome back. I am your host once again. This is JR Wisdom. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. You guys know, as usual, I have a special guest for you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. I know a lot of you may have seen her on YouTube. A lot of you may be her subscribers, followers, clients, so on and so forth. But hopefully, we'll do a semi deep dive with her and find out a little bit more about her and the space for those of you who are not quite familiar. So, with that being said, I'm not going to wait, take up too much of your time. First, before we get into it and I bring her on, just a few housekeeping rules. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button for those of you watching on YouTube. It's easy, doesn't cost a thing. Also, her link is in the description. You can go ahead and subscribe to her as well while you're watching. It's too easy. Follow her as well on Instagram. So, who I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about the lovely, talented Avery Woodley. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and bring her on for everyone who's been waiting. Miss Avery, how are you doing this evening? Talk to me.
I'm good. How are you?
It's the greatest day of my life as
Awesome.
usual. Thanks for joining me. Like I was, for everybody who didn't know, like I when I reached out to you, I was saying that, and I think he's in the chat right now. He
Yes.
basically suggested, based off your content, I see your content like last year, and
Uh-huh.
it happened to pop back up. And the gentleman was like, shout out to Jared, he's in there. Was saying you should probably check out Avery. She has some dope content, based upon, and it would be, awesome if you guys collab. And I checked out
Mhm.
your stuff and I was like, yeah, exactly. Like she's got definitely, great opinions and insight on a lot of topics that I discuss as well. So
Right.
that's awesome. I'm glad that you are able to join me here on this Tuesday evening.
Yes. And shout out to Jared for hooking us up. And thank you for reaching out. I'm very excited to be on your platform this evening.
Why, thank you. And I'm glad to collab as well. So, with that being said, Miss Avery, where are you calling in from tonight?
I am calling in from St. Louis, Missouri.
Awesome, St.
Yes.
Louis. I don't have anything to say negative about it. I think I've passed through and I've been to St. Louis or East St. Louis at
Right.
least.
Yep. I'm
O'Fallon.
not from East St. Louis. It's like, but I'm from St.
Yeah,
Louis. Which might not be any better, but
right. Yeah, I think O'Fallon. Yeah, I spent more time in O'Fallon, right there on the
yep.
border. Yeah, that area. For those who know, in that
Yeah.
area. So, are you originally from St. Louis?
I am originally from St. Louis, so born and raised. I get that question a lot, but yes, I was born and
Really?
raised in St. Louis.
What was it like growing up in St. Louis?
You know what? Actually, for me, it wasn't bad. I grew up in the suburbs of St. Louis. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was a fire chief, or retired fire chief. Hardworking family. And I went to private school up until seventh grade, and then I went to public school. But I grew up in a predominantly white community. I will say that.
Okay.
Um, and then once I got to public school, I was, around more, blacks and everything like that in St. Louis. I don't know if they had that in other states. We had this program called the DSEC program, when they would bus kids in from the from the city and bus them out to like other schools or whatever.
Mm,
So, other than that, I had a pretty good childhood. Nothing too crazy, but I had a pretty good childhood for sure.
right. What was that transition like though, going from private school to public school? And what was the reason behind? Was there a reasoning behind that?
Okay, so actually, it wasn't a reason. I was in a Catholic school, and then my mom. What happened was she gave us the choice. She was like, "Hey, if you want to try out public school, you can. If you don't transition well, you're going straight back, to private school." So I actually transitioned into seventh grade, and that's when middle school started. And it was fine. It was a really great school district, public school district. It was a little bit of a culture shock for me though, surprise. You know what I'm saying? Like I was around my family, but I was coming from a Catholic school where it was, six black kids in the whole school. In my elementary class, I knew it was a Filipino girl. It was a mixed, two mixed kids, and it was myself. You know what I'm saying? So when I went to public school, it was like a little bit different. I did get some backlash, from my
Or what?
brothers and sisters.
You got some backlash for going there?
Well, yeah, because like when I say brothers and sisters, I mean the people that look like me, right? So when I got to the school, they were like, "Why do you talk like that?" why do you, I was hearing like, why do you talk white? I didn't understand. I didn't think there was a difference in how I talked. Why do you talk white? I have really long hair. So, I actually got like teased a little bit at first when I got there, right? And then my parents had nice cars. So I was like, don't pick me up in front of the school. They were like, does your dad sell drugs? Does your mom do this? I would hear oh, you're pretty for a brown skin girl. Oh, you have nice hair for a brown skin girl, and I'm like, what? So I heard there was a shock like with that kind of stuff in the beginning. And then it was like all good. It just took some adjusting, in the beginning. So that's all.
Now, looking back on that now, I know you may have felt differently because you just named a few reasons. Why do you think that occurs, though?
I think it's exposure. One is exposure. Exposure, and then also what is portrayed on TV, right? So back then, this was like eons ago, obviously, I'm 39. So back then, what they portray, whether it's to whites or to blacks, they like to show us one way. You know what I'm saying? Show us one way. So when I would hear from the black kids, like, oh, why do you talk like that? But then there was also times that I heard from white people that were like, oh, well, you're not like the typical black person. You know what I'm saying? So but honestly, it kind of goes both ways. It's exposure. And to me, a part of it is what people have been around and what they have constantly seen.
Right.
So, and then of course, like some of the stuff we all know about, like the whole colorism thing within our, within, the black community, well, really black and brown communities and all of that. So, I mean, I've heard that kind of stuff for years, like, oh, you're this for a brown skin girl or for a dark skin girl, whatever. Right. But it doesn't bother me.
Right. So what kind of going that transition going into high school? What type of kid, what type of teenager were you?
The best.
The best? What's the best? You talk about the best. What's the best?
You know what? I was actually a pretty good teenager. Even my parents would say that. Other than I had a smart mouth, right? So I definitely had a smart mouth. I've always kind of marched the beat of my own drum. I've never been the type of person that got into cliques and drama, right? So I was always very cordial with a lot of people, right? But I never belonged to any groups just because I didn't like the mess.
Right.
I ran track for a little bit.
Okay.
I was on, the student advisory board, all that kind of stuff. I did not cheerlead, even though people think that is not my personality.
Right.
I am a sports person, but I'm not the type that's going to be like, yes, go team, go. But other than that, like I was a pretty good teenager. Other than, being like strong-willed and having that smart mouth, but my parents didn't really have any problems with me.
Gotcha. Reason why I asked that, because I don't know if you read Will Smith's that new book, or you heard the Audible or whatever. But I just got through finishing it. I just finished it this past weekend, excuse me.
Oh, awesome.
And his story was kind of like yours. It sounds a lot like yours from that aspect you just told. He transitioned going into high school from Catholic school to public school, and he felt like he had, it was a, frightening thing, and he felt like he had to prove, not to say that you had to prove a point, but he felt like he had to prove a point to basically fit in, because he was getting picked on and teased because he spoke proper and because he came from a 2-parent household, both parents worked. And things like that. So he felt like he had a point to prove. That's why I was kind of like asking what.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because this is what I did do. So back then when I was in middle school, and you probably, I think we might be around the same age.
Yeah, we are.
That's when there's like the whole like Aaliyah thing, right? So I was also very thin. So I was skinny. And then, amongst us, like some of the girls had curves and stuff like that. I did not. I was like, I had a little butt, but I was still like straight up and down, right? So first, I used to have my dad take me to this shop in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, so I could get like the Dickies. Yes. And I wanted to start wearing Dickies, and I wanted them to be big because I wanted to hide the fact that I wasn't thick, So like Dickies, I tried to wear like the little plaid boxers underneath. And then my hair may have been like, it was way past my shoulder. I wanted to cut it. My mom wouldn't let me cut it then. So I used to like take it and tuck it, because they called me Ashley from Fresh Prince.
Right.
So I used to take my hair and try to like tuck it under to make it look shorter. And then, at one point my mom let me. So I did that stuff too. You know what I'm saying? And that was, like I said in the beginning, I did little stuff to kind of fit in. I wanted to wear like the big jerseys, and part of it was style, but also it was me hiding.
Just trying to hide. Right.
the fact that I wasn't like a curvy black girl. You know what I'm saying? And they were like, oh, you're so skinny. Oh, your hair's long. So I was trying to make myself into someone that I wasn't. And trust me, it didn't last long. I was like, screw it. You either take it or leave. What you see is what you get. You take it or leave it. Love it or hate it.
Right. So you didn't have, besides those issues, you really didn't have too many issues in
No.
school. Okay.
Nope.
Got you. So transitioning from high school, did you go straight to college, or how did that work out?
I went straight to college and I should not have. I was like, should have been casted in higher learning, right? I was in undergrad. I felt like forever. I actually went to, so this is funny. I applied to all HBCUs when I
Right.
graduated from high school because I was, even still in high school, even though we had that bus program, it
Right.
was still like when in my honors and AP classes, a handful of us. It may have been 3 or 4 blacks in the entire class, right? So I applied to all HBCUs. I actually went to Xavier in New Orleans first.
Right.
Loved
Something
the
just happened
school.
today. Something just happened today at Xavier too. But go ahead.
Yeah, loved the school, but I didn't like being in such a small city, right? Because still I was used to being around, other different types of people in the culture. So, New Orleans is really small and that area is small. So when you travel off campus, it wasn't too much to do. And I
Okay.
was just like, I thought I wanted to be at HBCU. I love HBCUs, but then, I was like, okay, I'm in transfer. And I ended up transferring to Michigan State. Because it also
Okay.
didn't have that
Wow.
camp, it didn't have that campus feel, like that big college feel, and that's what I
Yeah.
want. So,
What year was that?
whew.
Not year. I mean, like as far as were you a sophomore? That's what I mean by that.
So I
Excuse me.
actually left New Orleans my freshman year.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep, I left New Orleans my freshman year. I think I came home for like a semester because, to get my credits together or whatever. Because some of the classes, I was a biology and chemistry minor
Oh.
at Xavier, right? So a lot of the classes I took my freshman year were Xavier type classes, and they wouldn't transfer to Michigan State. So I
Okay.
came home for like a semester, went to like a community college for like my math and some other classes, and then I transferred to Michigan State, and that's where I graduated from.
Okay. And
Yep.
did you graduate in the same major, or what was it you said?
No, I switched it. Right. So like I switched it. I wanted to be a forensic pathologist, which is
Okay.
why I was a biology major and chemistry minor. I hate chemistry. I hate chemistry. I was actually taking my electives were like sociology type classes and women studies, and I started studying globalization and the modern slave trade, and that was like the stuff I was passionate about.
Wow.
But
Okay.
I was in all these science-based classes, so I ended up switching it to my passion. I was like, oh my god, I'm probably never gonna have a job in any of this stuff. Let's just transfer,
Right.
let's just switch over. When I
Okay.
was in college, well, when I was graduating, right? So I actually graduated pregnant from Michigan State, like pregnant. Walked across the stage, got my, degree. I was like 6 months pregnant, maybe.
6 months.
For sure. And then I moved back home because I was like petrified, right? I'm like, oh my God, it's my first kid. I thought it because I wasn't married, I was going to be a statistic. I
Right.
mean, just because the way I grew up, right? My mom didn't have her first child until she was 34. So I always thought having a kid later in life, anything younger made me feel like, oh my God, my life's over, which was not the case.
Right.
So had a son. And then, a while after ended up, got engaged, got married, not to my son's father. I'm really fast forwarding this, okay?
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Say
And
less.
then got married, had a couple more, got a bonus son, and then had 2 more kids when I was, married. So
By your husband.
yeah, by my
Yeah.
husband, right? Not other people.
Yeah. By your
Had
husband.
2 more kids with my husband. So we both had came into the marriage with a child.
Okay.
Was married almost 10 years, and then we parted ways. And so like I still say I have 4 kids, right? My oldest, who just graduated a couple weeks ago with
Nice.
he's like a member of the National Honor Society. I just did not birth him. And then I
Nice.
have 3 more.
Nice. So total of 4. And
Yeah.
this was you graduate. How old were you when you graduated?
You don't even want to know.
Okay.
Oh, baby.
Oh, that's why you said higher learning. You told.
Higher learning. Like I think I sat out like a couple of semesters because I had got sick. So I did have a medical withdrawal
Okay.
for almost like a year. I was in there forever. And then when I found out that I was pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. And then got on the dean's list and just graduated. There was no reason for me not to graduate any sooner except for I was at Michigan State and I was clowning, right? I was like
You were
partying. I was like, I'm gonna go to class today and just go in here and just swipe my ID card and leave out,
You said clowning or crying?
clowning.
You were just clowning. Jeez.
I was taking up my whole college experience. I was like a super senior.
Right.
So
There
just
you
to
go.
give you like a number, I actually had my first child. Remember I said I had my first child at the age of 25.
Okay.
So I was not, I wasn't like 19 or 20, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But that's even though I was still freaking out at that age, you know what I'm saying? Because of how I came up, it was like get your education, travel, do this, this, and this, then get married. If you meet somebody, settle down and have kids. So I did it the opposite way. Why
So
not?
so basically you were at that pretty much that age that I guess a lot of, within this space and per YouTube guidelines, you were at 25. You said when you got married. When
Yeah,
you got
I
married?
was 25 when I had my first kid, and you would have thought I was 16 from how I acted. I was like freaking out, right? But
Right. But I
yeah.
mean, like you got married at 25 also,
So
right?
I got married. Oh my God, how old was I? Was I 27, 26, maybe 27? I can't remember.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely. I mean, I was just asking because it's just like it wasn't like people I try to dispel a lot of this bullpucky, as I like to call it,
Hmm.
this tomfoolery that people say things about
Right.
it should
I
be at this,
completely get it.
yeah, this time, this date, so on and so forth. But you were married, and you weren't married for one or 2 years. You were married for 10 years, like you said.
Yeah, almost 10 years.
Yeah,
Hmm.
almost 10 years. So it wasn't just like oh, let's just do this.
No, it was not. Let me tell you, it was not these microwave marriages that people do now, right? I feel like nowadays, well, even back then, right? People get married now more because it's a trending thing.
Correct.
They want to do the pictures, they want the photo shoots, right? Same thing when people have babies. I'm like, you do know that you are bringing a whole child, a human being, into this world. You want to have a maternity shoot. You want
Pageantry.
to have a crazy, what do you call it? The gender reveal and the baby showers and everything like that. And when I talk about marriages and people wanting to have like the engagement photos and do like the vacations and like, oh, I'm about to get married or whatever, I'm like, you don't even like each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? And when people are like, oh, but you're divorced, I'm like, baby, you have no idea. Like, that almost 10 years, everything that I learned and went through and grew from, like, I'm speaking from experience.
Yes.
I actually, and people are like, oh, well, you're this and you're that. Do you know I got married? We were renting this little bitty house. It was like 1,100 square feet. And I had on cutoff shorts and a t shirt, no shoes, no sandals, no nothing.
Courthouse wedding.
In the living room of this house we were renting. In the living room of this house we were renting, we never redid our vows and had some big elaborate wedding. We never did like a big, like reception a year later. So when people are like, I'm like, no, like I think people should get married that way. Like get married like that. And then after you make it through some stuff, then have the big wedding and the ceremony and celebrate. But no, get married in the trenches.
Did you at least jump the broom, Avery?
No.
No, you didn't. I just
Nope, I didn't jump the
you
broom.
said
I
you had
didn't
on
do
tank top
anything.
shorts or whatever. I'm like, yo, did you at least jump the broom up in that mug?
No,
Sheesh. Hey,
nope.
but real quick before I ask you this next question,
Okay.
guys, we have the lovely Avery Woodley. If you guys didn't know, for those of you just joining, you guys need to hit that like button. It's easy. It doesn't cost a thing. Should have at least 50 likes. It's running up to 50. This young lady here, and she is young. For those of you who like to get cute, um,
Like fine wine.
yeah, like nah, she's young. You know what I mean? She's not young. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of these fools over here that be cutting up. But she's got a lot of wisdom and game to give you, and we're about to just get just a little inkling of that this evening because we don't have much time.
Just a taste.
Yeah, just a taste. So hit that like button, and we're gonna open up the call lines here as well. That I forgot to mention that to you guys earlier. For those of you watching on YouTube, it's pinned in the chat. You'll see it in bright blue, or excuse me, navy blue, on there. You just click on it, and you just call in for any questions you may have for Avery. So Anyway, let's go. Moving on, Avery. Sorry about that. I just wanted to cover
No,
that.
you're totally fine. I'm over here like fixing my hair and drinking like hot tea, making sure I don't like spill it on myself.
Nah,
But
you're
yeah.
good. You're good. It's because making sure it's not a lot of lazy people in the chat hitting that like button.
Yeah, I see some people, not to interrupt King, sorry, but I see some people like in the comment section. Hello, I see T5 Squad Network. I'm taking over your platform real quick, but
Hey,
not
do
really.
your thing. We're co-hosting now, Avery.
Maya, hi. Okay, I'm done. Back to your show. Ask me my question.
No, you're good. Hey, this is like I said, God willing, this is this is gonna be the move. So,
This
Avery's doing
might
her
be
thing.
it, guys. This might
God
be
willing. Yeah,
it.
God willing. So you had the shotgun. Is that the proper term? Shotgun wedding? Is that what it's called? Or whatever. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
is
what
that what it is?
I think it's a term where, when people do it quick, but maybe I
It
could be
is.
wrong.
It is. It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all can correct me in the chat. Anyway. So you got that,
Mhm.
10 years. Do you think at that time, looking back in retrospect, I know at the time you may feel different, and I asked this to people, including myself, because like
Right.
offline we had a conversation. I told you I got married well, not that you got married early. You got married at that ideal time, I guess. I got married at
Right.
night. Looking back, do you feel like that was the right time or the right thing to do? Or if you were able to talk to yourself at that point, what would that kind of be like the right time, or what would you say?
You know what? Based on like, honest to God, based on what I know now,
Hmm.
I feel like it was the right time.
Okay.
Uh, based on the chain of events that happened afterwards, right? And
Right.
based on where I am now, for me, it had to happen that way.
Hmm.
Because the knowledge that I have now, and obviously I don't know everything, right? But the growth and the steps that I've gone through and the work that I've done and the healing and just all of that kind of stuff as a woman would not have happened if I had not been married then. And if I had not gone through some of the stuff that I had gone through. You know what I'm saying? So I could have said, oh, I should have waited 5 more years,
Hmm.
but I probably would have had the same old mindset. You know what I'm saying? Nothing would have forced me to change. Like I needed that marriage at that time to that person. It was divine and it is what it was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Because it prepared me for everything that's to come. It prepared me for today. It prepared me for this conversation. It
Absolutely.
prepared me for so much. So I have no regrets. There's nothing that I could have told myself then because I didn't know.
Right.
And I probably never would have known unless I had gotten married when I did, how I did, and everything like that.
Right. You said that perfectly. I should have asked that question because I believe the same thing that you believe. I think that things have
Right.
to transpire in a certain way in order for you to learn certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say, well, I'll go back in time and tell such and such, blah blah blah, that this will happen, and you may not have these kids, you may not have had
Right.
this experience, this epiphany, so on and so forth. So for women that may, well, let me put it to you like this then,
Okay.
because obviously, our platforms are about teaching and people learning from us and lessons learned, as well as
Yes.
just, what would you say to a young lady who would be in a similar, situation? I'm not even gonna say predicament, but a similar
Mm-hmm.
situation. And this is where she's at in life. And I know you encounter women all the time who seek advice from you.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your advice to a young lady like that who may be going into a situation where she has a newborn and she has a man that's interested in marrying her? What would be some advice that you would give her?
I would tell her first to honestly, if she has the ego, right? And I'm just saying this. Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of young women do have an ego, but I think you know what. My first question to her would be why. You know what I'm saying? Why? I think you need to ask people why they want to make a step, a
Mhm.
huge commitment like that in anything, to see where their head is at, right?
Yeah.
So, and based on her response, then I would know where to gear, right? I would also ask her, how does she view men? How does
Mm.
she view marriage? Does she know how to love a man? These are like all the things that I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Not what has she been told? What
Right.
about the women in her family? Not how are the men in your family? You know what I'm saying? But how are the women? And that's something that we don't do. A lot of times we look at the men, like, was the father around? Was this person
Right.
around? Was this person around? But we don't sit back and say, what did your mother tell you? What did your grandmother tell you? What did your aunts tell you? What about your sisters? Because you can find out a lot about a young woman based on the other women that are in her life and their mindsets. And that lets you know what's going to be ingrained in her, what's instilled in her, and her whole thought process. And if she needs to unbecome before she can become, right? So, like, I got married and I had to do the unbecoming towards the end of my marriage and afterwards, right? The unbecoming of a lot of the things that I thought were right and that I thought made me a strong woman. I had to unbecome so I could become the woman that I was supposed to be. Because it's not just about being a wife, it's about being a woman, you know? You can't be, to me, you can't be a wife if you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be a good wife if you don't know what a woman is. You know what I'm saying? If you're not a whole woman, if you don't know that you need to get rid of your ego, if you don't know what submission really looks like, right? Like, that word used to make me want to jump out of my skin, like, you know, but it's a heart posture. It's not even necessarily about like, oh, I have to submit to just, you have to submit to a man and give your life and your thoughts and your ideas and your body over. That's not necessarily what it is. It's about submitting to the ego, submitting to yourself, submitting to a higher power, submitting to your husband, submitting to your family, submitting to a common goal, being able to open up your heart and be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of women who get married and they're not open. How can you be a wife and you're not open? You know what I'm saying? How can you be a woman and your heart is guarded? So I would ask all those types of questions. And then comes in, because if you're open and if you're willing and you're able and you're submissive, then you can learn. You can do all of these things. You know what I'm saying? Because you're willing to become a wife. You're willing to be the wife that you need to be in the helpmate. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
Hey,
Sorry, guys.
that's what we need to hear. I mean, I don't think it should be a shortcut. If that's how you would address her, then I mean, for sure.
Yeah, because it's serious, right? It's a serious thing. Those are questions. And if she's like, I don't know, then it's like, rethink it. There's no rush. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But like, these are the things that you really have to think through. I would talk to her about intimacy and about her sexuality. Like, all of this is like very, very important. So
now, I was going to ask you something else, but since you mentioned that key word there, intimacy, I know we talked about that.
we did.
So this, I think you said this has been an issue, and you hear this from some of your clients or some ladies who reached out to you.
Yes.
About intimacy. What do you think? Is it in your opinion, is intimacy? Is it about security or comfort? Like, what's your thoughts on that as far as
Okay,
intimacy?
so it is. It's not all about security and it's not all about comfort, right? We can't, because I feel like when we say it's about comfort, like some people say that a woman can't fully release or reach her peak until she trusts a man. She's willing to really like open up and give her body away, so to speak, and let herself go to those heights, right? That's a trust thing. But I've also realized it's a personal thing as well, right? So, like, for me and for a lot of women that I have talked to and worked with, it's with them. It has nothing to do with their husband or their partner or whatever, right? Which a lot of men take it take it personal, as they should. Their men, they're like, wait a minute, is it me? But a lot of times it's women who are disconnected, and people are going to hear me say this all the time because this is just what I'm on, right? It's like a true thing. They're disconnected from their feminine. So for me, there was like a mind, body, and soul disconnection, like disconnect. So I would never allow myself to go into certain spaces where I could be intimate, right? It made me uncomfortable. I didn't like, because you have to be vulnerable. You have to be soft. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. It was foreign to me, because we're told that's what weak women, weak women are like that, right? So it's like, you're strong, you're rigid, you're leading and you're masculine. And now you have to like be intimate with the man and soften up. And sex is complete. But people are like, oh, but women have sex. It's completely different. Being intimate makes you more vulnerable, right? So if I'm with my guy and I curl up next to him and I want to like snuggle and stuff like that, that kind of stuff was hard for me to do, because I had to like soften myself, right? Like some women, it's easier for them to open their legs than it is for them to open up their hearts. So
Hmm.
there is a lot of problems with intimacy when it comes to women because they are disconnected from their core, from their womb, from their femininity. And once you connect to that femininity, it's a whole nother ball game when it comes to the intimacy and everything else. That's all I'm gonna say. I can't give away too much.
I'm glad you said that because you definitely hit it on the head. There's a difference between just sex and intimacy,
Oh, for
you
sure.
know, because you do. I've encountered. Not a player. I'm just saying I've encountered women who don't, who can't be, or who are basically like, I've never really been intimate like this. I've never,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you said, basically just open your legs and just, going about your business. But in terms
Yep.
of really that, I don't even want to call it because it's not about seduction or anything like that. It's just about the intimacy is just intimate. It's not intimate, has nothing to do with sex, really, at the
Right.
end of the day. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
about being with someone and just that, the whole situation I told you about where I fell asleep. Yeah. You know
Yep.
what I'm
Are
saying?
we bringing it up? We're bringing it up today. Are we bringing it up today or
Yeah.
no?
No, no, no. We're not bringing it up. But the fact
Okay,
that
guys,
you
we'll bring it up another time.
yeah, just the fact that you're able, as a man, he's able to, and the same thing, it's not about disarming, which a lot of us,
Right.
not a lot of us, a lot of players, a lot of those who are, they call toxic, are able to disarm a woman to, sexually. I'm not saying that's basically where she's going to be
Mm-hmm.
intimate to that point, but you're able to whisper sweet nothings and disarm her via your tongue,
Mm-hmm.
when I say speaking, to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us will realize, for those like myself who do, I love intimacy. I love,
Right.
it's more than just sex. I love the talking, the
The
laying,
hand holding.
laying in
Yeah.
her lap, the holding, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? It's all the rest of that stuff. You're just an animal. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I think a lot of guys, you realize that when it's all said and done, when you do participate in, that type, or you do conduct yourself in that way, you do feel like an animal, and it's not
Right.
fulfilling. It's not fulfilling. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
might as well be a one man show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's meaningless. A lot of times it's meaningless, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm glad. Yeah, y'all heard what she said. She hit it on the head. It's definitely something different, and from a man's perspective, I can definitely say it's something. And a lot of you guys who haven't experienced it, something you guys may need to look into and work on. And
Yeah.
you could definitely book a session with Avery, and she can explain it to you as well.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like you know what it is, Jared. It's about like, especially for a woman, and just a person in general. It's about also being able to sit with yourself, right? Because intimate is about being present in the moment, being with that
right?
person. Whether it's you all sitting next to each other, and we just had the NBA finals, right? And your man's watching the TV, and you're shopping online. Of course, I do use shopping. You're shopping online, but it's a comfortable closeness, right? It's not like a toxic quiet or a negative, you can't cut tension, but you're just close. You just feel good leaning into each other. Or then hand holding and the
Yes.
conversations and everything like that. But you cannot truly be intimate with someone until you're intimate with yourself, right? And I don't
Mhm.
necessarily mean self pleasure, but that could be
Right.
one of them. But I mean like learning to sit with yourself and be with yourself. And that
Correct.
also comes with accountability, right? So like all
Correct.
of that it comes from that. But if you feel like the need that you have to be around people and you have to be on the go, you have to do this, you have to do that, you don't even have the time and the mental capacity just to like sit and be. And that's where some of that intimacy comes from. It's just,
Right.
I don't need anybody else. I just need us. I just need this moment. You know what I'm saying? I just need us in this space, whether we're sitting on the porch or we're sitting in the car, riding around, listening to music, you know what I'm saying? And just enjoying ourselves, or phone conversation. But yeah, intimacy is like something that I feel like is fleeting. Um,
Yes.
just like the human connection, right? These types of conversations, a lot of stuff is fleeting, but that's what we need to sustain and to have healthy relationships.
Correct. Man, I'm digging it. Like that's one thing. And I was just listening to something yesterday. I'm glad you mentioned that also,
Mhm.
about many people not being comfortable. I don't even want to say comfortable, because I know you didn't hit on that, but I think a lot of people really aren't comfortable with themselves in terms of actually time to think and understand what it
Right.
is that you like, what it is that you want, instead of always having to be around others, as you
Hmm.
said, to kind of dictate. what it is that they should be doing.
Right.
And even going out in public by yourself, or just being able to spend time with yourself,
Yes.
is very important.
Loving yourself, right? Like how, like if we were together, how could I love you the way you need to be loved if I don't love myself?
Correct.
Right. And how could I get on you and say, you don't love me like this, you don't love me like that, when I don't even know how to show myself love, let alone love you the way a man needs to be loved, you know? So
Right.
people are
Right.
so busy doing, doing the most because nobody wants to sit with themselves. Nobody wants to face their demons because it's an ugly, grueling process, but it's like everything,
Yeah.
your life is on the other side of that.
Right. Yeah. And want to cover it with vices. We want to treat ourselves
Yep.
devices to cover it up.
Yep.
So you mentioned something earlier, and this is what I meant to ask. You
Go ahead.
said something about you didn't know how to love a man. Do you think that that's something? What does it take to come to that point? Other than what we just said about loving yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and this goes for both men and women. You said earlier, though, how to love a man. You didn't know how to love a man,
Mm-hmm.
and that's maybe where some of your uh, issues may have come about. And you said, the whole unbecoming part towards the end of your marriage.
Right.
Where do you think it comes in, as far as men and women, as far as being able to love a woman or love a man?
We're not
How do you
taught.
think? How do you? Yeah. What when it's is it something that can be taught, or is it based upon how you're raised? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a couple of things, right? So in the perfect world, we would all be raised and taught how to love a man and a woman, right? If we're looking at a two-parent household, or not even a two-parent household, right? Whether it's somebody who's being raised by their father or their mother, but in the perfect world, it would be like, okay, this is how we're supposed to treat people. This is how, racism wouldn't exist, all types of stuff, right? This is how we're supposed to treat people. This is how we're supposed to love each other and everything like that. As far as being in the Black and brown community, I feel a lot of things that some of us are not taught, right? And it doesn't mean some of us aren't taught against it. We're just not taught at all, right?
Okay.
So, especially with Black women, I feel a lot of us are taught on how to survive, how to make it, how to thrive, how to be independent, how to be strong, how to be this, how to be that, how to, break glass ceilings, all
Right.
this kind of stuff. We're not taught how to be a woman. We're not taught how to love men, right? Because a lot of times in these households, there's either, if there is a man around, right? And there a lot of times there may be a man, right? Like I had my father, but I
Mhm.
still wasn't taught necessarily by my mother how to love a man or how to be a wife. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that I was taught. I was taught about respect.
Mm.
I was taught about loyalty, but I wasn't taught about that love aspect that I needed to hear from a woman. And that's when I said going back and looking at the other women and a young woman's family, because there's a reason, right? Like my mom's mom died at the age of 49 and she was an alcoholic.
Mm.
And then she had her grandmothers, but the way they were very strong, very stoic. So she couldn't teach me. She was doing the best that she could. So she didn't know how to tell me how to love a man. She
Right.
didn't know how to tell me how to be a woman, right? So yeah, in the perfect world, it would be ideal if we were taught that, but there's still no excuse, right? So I can say like, oh, I wasn't taught that,
Yeah.
but I'm grown. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I learned how to do everything else. I learned how to drive. I was able, like I said, to open up my legs and have kids. I was able to graduate from college. I'm able to get on here. I'm able to have client stuff. You have to learn. It all comes down to a point where we all are given a choice. Whether you're taught it or not, we are given a choice, and it's up to you to learn. And it's also exposure, being around in different environments, right? So some of these people never come, like their environment never
Yeah.
changes. Their tribe of men or women never changes, and they're around people who have the same mindset, right? Who have the same kind of like broken mentality when it comes to men and women. And so it's their norm, right? But it's not the norm and it's not healthy. And it's something that you really have to learn. I feel like if we can research everything else, research it, ask questions, like
Right.
let go of the ego, ask. Like, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I told my ex, I was like, in any ways, if I failed you as a wife, I am sorry. I didn't know.
Wow.
Like, I didn't know any better. I didn't know. I gave you the best that I could with what I had then and with what I knew.
Mm.
And then I put the work in, and it wasn't even for him. This is afterwards. I put the work in because I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I owe it to myself to become the woman I was created to be. I can't be that if I don't know what my femininity is. I can't do that if I don't know how to love, a man. And I kind of took it like a customer review, right? I feel like when you end a relationship, listen to some of the stuff that your exes have said, right? Whether it's, for men or for women. If there is a common denominator, if they're saying some of the same thing, then, sit yourself down and be like, you know what, let me take a look, because this is the first time I've heard this, and see what they had to say. It doesn't, no matter what they did or didn't do, you owe it to yourself to take some of that constructive, criticism or whatever you want to say, and look into it and be like, maybe they were right, and that's what I did.
So you did that self-reflect. Do you felt like, so obviously based off listening, because I don't want to jump ahead of myself by saying that, because it's not about, marriage takes two and divorce. I'm not always going to say it takes two, but things come to an end. And sometimes it's time only a wise and smart person will self-reflect and, listen, as you said, to what the other partner said and try to correct their shortcomings for, as we said, to actually ascend in these things and learn. That way we're better, not better, or we become, more evolved, which is the reason why I named that the title.
I love that.
We become more evolved as we go along with this. So do you feel, because some people say, well, now that we're no longer together, now you've changed. What do you have to say about that? That for people who do say that, well, now that we're no longer together, or now that we're divorced, we're broken. Not just your situation, but I've heard, oh, you lost 200 pounds now that we're no longer together. What do you have to say about people who say
this is what I say. I'm like, weren't we supposed to? Like, the goal is to change. It doesn't matter how it comes about. You see some of those quotes and they're like, well, that man wasn't supposed to be the type of man to you, that he was, or, whatever, right? It's the same thing. That is the point. You know what I'm saying? The point is to evolve and to change no matter when it happens, right? If it happens during the marriage, after, whatever, if you lose weight, whatever has to happen to get you to wake up and be like, wait one damn minute. You know what I'm saying? I have some work to do. Then do it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, well, you should have did that when you were with me. Okay. It's not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, grow up. Like, grow up. The point is that I have changed. The point is to evolve. And it does take, it takes experience. It takes sometimes hitting rock bottom, whatever your rock bottom looks like, whatever your heartbreak looks like, whatever your storms look like. The point is to go through it and to come out better, right? That's the whole point. Like, I applaud myself that I'm not the same woman that I was when I was married. Absolutely. Like, I thought I was a good woman, right? I was good, but I could have been better, or a good wife. I wasn't even a woman yet. I was a wife before I became a woman. And that's my whole, like, that's the whole theory. But no, like, the point is to change and to evolve at any point. But for people who want credit and want to say, well, you should have did it with me, like, grow up. No, it's not how it happens.
Yeah, I've seen people in the comments saying, which they're absolutely agreeing with you, growth and evolution is the point, of that whole thing. So moving on past that, what was, speaking of catalysts and things like that, what was the catalyst that, inspired you to start your YouTube channel?
Oh, you know what? It was that average at best video.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I'm sure some of the people have heard that story. Was never on YouTube other than looking up makeup and hair tutorials on stuff that I could never do, right? So it was the average at best when that, whole thing happened with Mr. Samuels, rest in peace. And a lot of people had sent it to my Instagram, right? They were like, oh, Avery, what do you think about this? Just based on people who knew me and knew kind of like my perspective and how I talked about things. And actually, Roland Martin was like a mentor of mine. I have to give him his, applause, because if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for him and Mr. Samuels, I don't know if I ever would have started a YouTube channel, or possibly I would have, but not when I did, right?
Okay.
And he also sent me the video and I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen this. We had a conversation about it. And I told him my take a little bit. He was like, make a video. and put it on YouTube. I was like, what? I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have a camera. I don't have this. I don't have that. He was like, Averi, you have your cell phone. He was like, create a YouTube channel. You got an email. He was like, get on YouTube. You got 24 hours. He was like, and post it. And that's how it happened, right? Like, that was it.
So that was your first video.
That was my first video.
Was your response on the average of it? So how was that? Your video that you posted, how was that taken? What was the reactions that you got to that video? Got from that video?
Baby. So I got, you know what, a lot of love. I got a lot of love from a lot of men and some women, right? Yeah. I got some slack from some men as well, just because nobody, you know, obviously they didn't want me to get on this platform and to like uplift men or to not take the woman's side, right? I got a lot of slack because I did not bash Kevin Samuels. They're like, well, look at what he said. Look at how he talked to her. Look at this. Look at that. And I'm like, you know, and I had to do my research, right? So because I had never watched any of his stuff, I had to go back and I watched some of his videos and I listened, right? Like, I don't necessarily look at him. I listen to him. I listen to his guests, whatever. I was like, oh, this is his show. This is his platform. This is how he is. She knew that, right? She listens to him. She knew what she was doing. She called the show, you know, like he didn't search her out. And so anyway, with some of the things that I said in that video, from that video, right, without attacking him, but I kind of like picked her apart a little bit and picked apart the things that she necessarily was not saying, because that's what I wanted to hear. I'm like, okay, not only what are you saying, but what are you not saying?
Yes.
So a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, yes, we need your voice. It's it's so refreshing. I didn't know women like, you know, Black women like you existed, this, and that. And then I got like the pick-me's and how could you and pretty girl privilege, whatever that is, you know, like all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So I got a lot of that, but I did get a lot of love, you know, I did get a lot of love. And I was shocked by some of it, right? Because I'm just like, well, isn't this like simple? Not simple, but is my perspective, like it couldn't be that my perspective is like that far and in between, you know what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't this kind of be like the norm, you know, especially as a woman who had kids, you know, she had a son, and some of the stuff I was, you know, saying from that video, I'm just like, and I realized that it wasn't. I was like, ooh, we got work to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really got work to do. I was like, aha, that's why I'm on. And then it kind of uncovered why I was on here and on this platform, you know, as far as YouTube and everything like that.
Gotcha. So from there, you just basically continued to post periodically and things like that.
Very periodically.
No, I figured I'd throw that out there. I don't know what your posting schedule. I just looked at your videos and I kind of seen. I understand people have lives. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you, from Instagram, which I guess was your first, or was it Facebook? Were you already? Because I noticed for everyone who doesn't know, you're into fitness.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's what you were kind of doing before you got. Well, I know you're still doing it now, but before you got on YouTube, was that kind of like the arena?
Well, so I owned a gym with my ex for some years, and then, you know, I was a trainer and coach, but I already did some of what I call the personal coaching. I just don't like to use life coach, right? The personal coaching type of stuff. I just wasn't advertising it, right? Because it is a passion. It is something I had done for so many years. So I was never like, oh, let me get let me get a customer, let me get a review and all that kind of stuff. I just never broadcast it because I wanted to keep a lot of that kind of stuff like private, so to speak.
Right.
So my social media had been more like fitness and kind of like mom stuff, just because it was like, this is personal work, right? It's a lot of personal work. Then once I got on YouTube and I saw a need for like my voice in some of the conversations, these are conversations I've been having for years. These are talking points I've been having for years with people. So I was like, you know what? Let me kind of like get my voice out here. And like, yes, it was periodic. And then I kind of like fell off the YouTube map, right? Because it was just like a lot. And my kids were really busy. And I wanted to make sure that, how do I put it? I never really wanted to be a content creator. I struggled with that in the beginning when I get on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to just sit up and just make content just to be making it, because this is stuff that I'm passionate about. This is stuff, it's like, it's real. This is like life-changing stuff. These are issues that we need to talk about, everything like that. So it was hard for me just to jump on camera if my heart wasn't in it, or if I was like completely exhausted.
Right.
Yeah, right. So because I didn't get on here just as a fluke. Like I did, but it's really like a part of my destiny and it's really in my heart. So I'm gonna make sure that my words don't fall on deaf ears, even if I get 2 views, right? Maybe one of the people needs to hear it. So that's kind of how I started to do more of the stuff like on YouTube. But yeah, as far as my other stuff, it is fitness. It stopped being just fitness years ago because you can't, I feel like your mind, body, and soul are all
Right.
connected, right? It's
Right.
not Mattel like toys, it's not sold separately. So in order to really train somebody and coach somebody, it's from the inside out. And I'm not taking the place of mental health advocates or therapists or counselors. There is a need for them, but as a personal coach, there is a line I can cross that therapists and counselors can't, right? I can talk about
Absolutely.
my personal experience. I can
Absolutely.
sit down next to somebody and to, and have that compassion, that empathy, and to be able to connect with them and really relate. And then I can step back. Like I do have the gift of being able to step back and see a lot of situations from the male perspective or the female perspective, right? I don't just try to push my agenda with women because like I feel like some counselors and therapists do have a personal agenda when it comes to certain things, and they do try to push their own message, and they're really not about healing and forgiveness and letting go. They're just trying to keep some people in their pain. And not to knock all of them, but some of them do. So that's why I kind of like, can start to like branch over more just because there was a demand for it, right? It was a demand for it and my heart was in it and it's like my thing, right?
Right.
So here I am. I can't dance, but I can coach the hell out of somebody.
Where you get that? Where did you get the dance from? What are you talking about? I can't
I
dance.
don't even know why I said it. Like I know what I'm good at. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to be like have this like imposter syndrome type of thing.
Right.
And I downplayed a lot of the stuff that I did. And I'm getting messages like, Avery, because of you, I changed my life in this area. Because of you, this, and this. And I kind of was trying, like I said, I kept it hidden, right? I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, down, whatever. But I'm like, no, you know what? Like, I'm good at this. Like, I went through hell and back to get here.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
I keep evolving and getting better at it. So I'm just saying, I can't, if anybody goes to my Instagram, I'm not the best dancer, but maybe I can help you like get unstuck and help you like, change your life
Right.
for the better.
No, what's important, and you hit on a excellent point that as opposed to therapists and counselors, so on and so forth. When I know you don't like to use the term life coach, but when you're in the field,
Mm-hmm.
as I like to call it, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
myself personally, and you've
Mm-hmm.
actually, and I think we talked about this offline,
Yep.
when you have the actual experience, I actually been through this. I'm not, I didn't go to YouTube University, as you were saying also.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't say it in those words, but I didn't attend YouTube University and adopt someone else's talking points based,
Right.
and just say this and I haven't lived it.
Exactly.
No knock on psychiatrists, therapists, so on and so forth. But when you really want to know what's going on in the field, you need to be with. And I mean, any of us could be lying at the end of the day
Yeah.
about that. But I mean, when you're dealing with people that's actually been through it, I think that's very important.
Yes.
But real quick, I just wanted to we had a super chat for you, Avery, and I think we covered this, and we'll cover this at the end. But if you want to answer that one right there.
Yes, I am, Maya. I am. So you can just email. Well, we'll do it at the end, but I'll tell you now, info@averywoodley.com. But yes, I am actually taking new clients. Just a few, but I
Right.
am.
Right. Awesome. Shout out to you, Maya. Appreciate the super chat. And as I said before, Avery's information is in the description. Her Instagram information is there as well. We'll cover that towards the end. I wanted to shout out my man QT Dub, another collaborator of mine. I appreciate the super chat there. Shout out to you, QT Dub. We got some content coming straight out of Atlanta. Shout out to everybody. And also, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. If you got any questions for Avery, you can either super chat them or you guys feel free to call in. You know what I mean? Call in. The link is pinned in the description. Well, excuse me, not in the description. It's pinned in the chat in blue. You just click it, follow through. If you have any questions for Avery or myself, feel free
Mhm.
to do that at this time. And guys, let's run this up to 100 likes. If you haven't hit that like button, it's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. It's easy like Sunday morning and shoplifting.
Oh, I like that. Jerry, you kind of smooth with it. Easy like a Sunday morning. I like
Yeah,
that.
easy. I said shoplifting too, Avery. I just want to make sure you got that.
Shoplift.
Yeah, hey, I don't encourage illegal activity, but just throwing that
Right.
out. How do you super chat? There's a dollar sign at right by the chat. You should see like a little dollar sign there. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. But if you don't, besides that, if you don't want to do that, just hit the like button. You should see like a little thumbs up right there. It's easy. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It doesn't cost you a thing. So you have said that people, or you have not. I don't know if you said people have said it, or you that was something that you self proclaimed that
Mhm.
the way your delivery has been harsh or deemed harsh. Is that correct? Or what's your thoughts on that? Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
you know what it is? It's just that it's not sugar coated for women. That's
okay.
all. That's
And
all. But I'm like, girl, we got work to do. I'm trying to save people from some of the stuff I
yeah,
went through, right? Like,
right,
and not only that, because it's not even about it's like I know women that are way older than me that I've worked with, right? 20 years older than me and everything. And I just feel, how do I put it? I guess that, they say that it's harsh or that I'm this and I'm that because it's not what they're normally used to
right.
when it comes to, because I like to say that I'm about, empowering or, helping men and women. But I guess in order to help women, I'm supposed to, you know, like tell them that everything they're doing and is like correct, right? And I'm not supposed to critique them. I'm not supposed to tell them about accountability, and I'm not supposed to do all this other thing. I'm supposed to be on the whole, boss babe
Yes.
bandwagon. Like, yes, girl, shea butter, coconut oil, drink your tea, even though I am drinking my tea right now. But,
Mhm.
just like on that whole trendy type of thing. And it's like, whatever you're doing as a woman, you're right because you're a woman. And it's
Right.
like, no, right? Like, no, because if I still had that mindset, like I don't know where I would be. Like I cannot imagine JR being the same woman that I was. And I'm still getting better, right? I
Right.
still have my things that I have to deal with. It's an everyday thing. As long as I have, breath in my body, we are supposed to be working on becoming our best selves. But
Indeed.
that mindset that a lot of us have, like a lot of women, is just it's bad. It's like it is bad. And so those are the ones that I was getting it from. And it's bad because you have so many people that are pushing that mindset, right? And that are pushing that agenda. And you have all of these movements. So then it's like, oh, here I come on YouTube. People are seeing me on YouTube and they're like, oh, you don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going against the sisterhood, this, and that. And I'm like, really? I'm
Right.
going, what sisterhood, right? Because as I can see, you all don't want me sitting at your table because I'm not speaking the same thing you're speaking.
Right.
Or yes, I am for women educating themselves. I am for women, the shea butter coat. I'm for all of that, but I'm also for us not being bitter. I'm also for us not being angry. I'm also for us not bashing men. I'm also for us being good co-parents and not trying to take the place of the father. I'm for us holding ourselves accountable. I'm for all of that. And that's where it becomes harsh, so to speak, right?
Indeed. Do you have a lot of women who say, they appreciate your harshness, if you will, or not harshness, but your delivery, excuse me. I'll put it like that.
I do have a lot of women now, but more in private, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to where in the comments, the men will be like, "Yes, sister," whatever, right? And Maya, just to use her as example, I absolutely adore her. Obviously, we've never met and had like a phone conversation or anything like that, but she has been like a supporter now for a while. I do have a lot of women supporters, whether it's from YouTube or Instagram, but some of them do. A lot of them hit me up more in private just because of the types of comments that they have and because I guess they're ashamed, right? Like I think we spoke about this like off camera. A lot of these women are successful or
Mm.
have been married. Some of them have been married for years or whatever, and so they're coming to me and they're like, I don't know how to connect to my feminine. I don't even know
Mm.
what that is, right? They don't know what it is. They think heels and getting their hair done and waxed and their nails or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's your feminine, and that's not your feminine, right? Anybody can do that. Heck, I did that. I didn't know what feminine energy was. Or the ones that are like, I didn't, these are my, like, this is my favorite. I had a woman that was like, until she started watching my YouTube, she was like, I didn't even know that healing was an option. And I was just like, what? And like it almost like brought tears to my eyes. And I'm like,
Wow.
yes. Like, I don't care if I don't get, like, I do want a ton of views to an extent, right? Because I want people to hear the message, right? But I'm like, this is why I do it, because that person right there, this is why I do it. It's not about the clout. It's not about this, and that. It's literally to change lives, hope, love, restoration, all of that kind of stuff. So those are where my women supporters are. But you know what? If they want to be private, fine with me. You know what I'm saying? It is perfectly okay with me, as long as they're willing to do the work. And it does feel good though to get this. It feels good to get the support of men, and the men who share it with their sisters and, you know, their coworkers or their girlfriends or their wives. But as a woman, it still does feel good to get the love of my sisters, other than the ones that are bashing me and calling me like a pick me or this, and that, because they're miserable, right? So, because they don't want to hear the truth. You know, women, you know, we don't like hearing the truth. Now, when it comes to ourselves, right? We want to hear the truth about you all, but we do not want to hear the truth about us, because we're women and we're perfect.
No, I mean, I'm letting you tell it, because
That's why you're like,
you.
You're like,
Yeah, because I don't want to be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I'm definitely, I'm with you. Trust me,
yep.
I'm with you. So is that the biggest? And this is, I'm gonna kind of wrap this up after this. Is that one of the biggest issues that you find with your clients, is the whole femininity thing that they're reaching out to you about? Is that like the biggest issue?
It is, but some of them don't know it, right? So like, your healing comes from being connected to your feminine, because you have to open up. You got to be vulnerable in order to heal. You can't heal with a closed heart, with a guarded heart, right? So it's a lot of unforgiveness. It's a lot of bitterness. It's a lot of victim mindset. A lot of it also is the whole submission thing, right? Some of it is just knowing how to take care of a man, which we're all still learning. You know what I'm saying? Like, little stuff that we were told isn't, you know what I'm saying, is beneath us, right? And like, yeah, okay, I grew up in a household where there are certain things my parents, you know, wash clothes, cook, you know, everything like that. You got to know how to do. But even stuff like making a plate, just whatever, it's like all of that is missing, because so many of us are raised and are taught to be these independent, successful women that don't need anybody, right? And so I do get a lot of them also. They're like, wait a minute, no, like, I need somebody. Like, I don't want to do this thing called life on my own, right? We all need that human connection. We all want that companionship that you can't get from the red bottom shoes. You can't get from the purses. You can't get from the girls' trips and all the girls' dinners and getting a dog or being an aunt, whatever, right? Like, you need that compassion. You need that connection, so to speak. And I'm speaking of when it comes to like a man and a woman, right?
Yes.
So that's what's, they're missing, because they have this stuff, right? They have all the stuff, but they don't have the love. They don't know who they are as women. They're not connected to themselves. They don't even know what they're missing out on, because they were taught so long that they don't need it, right? And then you get to a point where you're like, wait, I do kind of want that, right? Like, I don't want to come home to an empty house, or I do want to have, if you don't want to get married, right? But I do want to be with one man. You know what I'm saying? I do want to travel and have sex and cook and do whatever, right? And work out and do all this stuff with one person, and not just my girlfriends. And I think a lot of them kind of feel, I've also gotten a lot of women who are like, okay, I don't know how to tell my friends or the women in my family that I don't want to do this by myself. Or I've had a lot of single mothers who are like, I can't do this on my own. Everybody's telling me like, oh, if you have a job, you can be, take care of the kids. You're doing this, you're doing that. They're like, no, like, I need help. But they don't know how to say that they need help, because they're afraid that they're going to lose the support of their loved ones that are close by, So it's kind of like it's all of that. It's a lot of women who are trying to figure out now, as grown women, how to soften up, how to become a woman, how to realize, and how to redefine what a strong woman is, right? And I'm big on redefining what a strong woman is, because what we have been taught as a strong woman is not what a strong woman is. And it's just going to choke the life out of you. You're just going to walk around existing, carrying this heavy load, bitter, angry, stank looking, because you're mad, because you're unhappy.
Well said. And on the flip side, I I can dig it. I'm glad a woman is saying this because this, like, my channel's not about. It's just about that connection. So what would you say to men out there that you know they may be missing, or how in terms of being able to connect more with women or understand women better? What's the main thing that you hear women are saying that they would want men to do more of from your client side and from your own experience?
Um, Honestly, I think one of the main things between men and women, one of the main things that I hear, it's almost like a big misunderstanding, right? So the common, what I feel like is common is men are saying it's like our needs and wants, right? And like the whole, people talk about the whole love language.
Yes.
So women are saying, okay, well, he doesn't do this, or I don't get this from him. And that, when I say get this, I don't mean gifts, right? They're missing something from men, but these are the people that are in relationships, because I do work with some couples, and then the men are saying, but I don't get this from her and I
Yes.
need this. We try to give each other what we think we need, and we
Yeah.
don't stop and
Absolutely.
listen to our
Absolutely.
partner, right? And then it comes into a cycle. So the easiest way I can say it is that you may have a woman who's like, oh, I want a man who is a protector, provider, or who is, my friend, like all this stuff, right? And then you have the man saying, oh, but I want a woman who is this, this, and that. But usually it's the same thing, just in different forms. So
Mm.
usually, whatever the woman needs, if she can listen and understand what the man needs and try to meet his needs, then in turn, and these are for healthy relationships, right? I'm not talking about when you have a female, right, or a chick that's paired with a man. That's a
Yeah.
whole nother show, right? Because there's a difference. I'm talking about when you have a woman and a man that are paired together and they're willing to give and to pour into each other. And then as the man has his needs met, he meets the needs of the woman.
Right.
As the
Right.
woman has her needs met, she continues to meet the needs of a man. And sometimes, yeah, those needs are going to change, right? What if somebody gets a job promotion or somebody loses their job? Whatever it is. But it's a cycle, and it's just like, I pour into you, you pour into me, I pour into you, you pour into me. And it may not be 50-50, it may be 80-20, but whatever it is, but at the end of the day, we're pouring into each other. And I think the main thing is that you'll hear like, well, she doesn't know, or she doesn't listen, or I try to tell her and she's like, well, I try to tell him. Everybody's just talking at each other. Nobody's
Yes.
really talking to understand and to just listen to what the person's saying without taking it as an attack, right? Which I've done. You know what I'm saying? I've done that in a relationship. And it's like, are you trying to get on me?
Yes.
Without like, I instantly put that wall up,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Without listening to what he was telling me that he needs from me. Right. And I'm like, okay, Avery, stop. Like, listen to what this man that you love is telling you. What does he need from you? Meet his needs, right? It's nothing that's going to take away from me. If anything, it's adding to me. Meet his needs, and your needs will continue to be met when you're aligned, with the right person.
Dope. Dope.
I have to interrupt really quick. Somebody said, I don't think I can, I might not be able to boil water, baby. I can throw down. Only thing I cannot do is bake. I cannot bake to save I can do like cornbread and stuff. I cannot bake to save my life, but your girl can cook.
Well, in your defense though, maybe you can't boil water. BOAL. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you
I
can't.
know.
You know what I'm
See,
saying? So
I
you
beat
know,
she can't bowl water.
yeah,
I
that spelling's atrocious, Lee Hall. Come back.
can't.
Try it again. Try it again.
I
You know
can
what I'm
boil
saying?
water, and I'm mean on the grill, and not just a gas grill, a charcoal grill.
Yeah, I don't think our people should be using gas at all on grills. That's taboo. Excuse me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
don't for those of you who don't know, don't ever use gas on a grill. That's a no go. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just not the way to go. But before we close this out, if y'all don't have any questions, like I said, you can call in. Shout out to Kirk Finley for the super chat. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Kirk.
Uh, Absolutely. If you guys don't have any questions here at Water and Stir, yeah. If you guys don't have any questions here, so moving forward, Avery, what's your goals moving forward? In life, YouTube, whatever. What's your intentions? I don't know if you want to make that public, but just asking just a general question.
Just in journal. Well, I'll keep it towards, you know, a little bit of life. So as far as life, like I will always say, becoming better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Becoming the best woman I can be, which is endless. Becoming the best mom I can be, which is also endless. Even those kids get on my nerves, right? But I love them. Just spread like more, like just living, right? Just like living. I'm all about peace. I'm about enjoying life. I'm about growing. I'm about learning from people, connecting with amazing people, connecting with people like yourself. As far as YouTube, you guys will see me a lot more. I'm looking to, do more, do more videos on my own. A lot of my videos may be short or whatever, but that's just me giving my take because I am busy, right? Like my kids play select soccer. We travel like
Right.
usually 4 or 5 nights a week. We're busy and we're
Nice.
getting in like 10 o'clock. But you guys will see more from me on YouTube. You'll see more collaborations. Maybe see me and JR if he'll have me back again. I would love to
Well,
do that. I kind of want to do some more like hosting type of thing, or like co-hosting type of thing on YouTube, or co-collaborating, whatever you want to call it.
right.
And just really like aligning myself with like good people to make an impact and to like make a change and to start this movement of not just, uncovering and like telling the truth, right? Their heart, the truth hurts, but also offering solutions and continuing to kind of put myself out there as a real example and being like, look, this is where I'm at. This is where I was. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm going. Use me. You know what I'm saying? Like, use me as a guideline. Talk to me. And that's it. Like love, hope, restoration, forgiveness, restoring like the family, restoring like a healthy relationship between, men and women, specifically like Black men and women, even if it's somebody that you're not romantically involved with, but like the respect and the love and realizing that we're on the same team and we are in collaboration and not in competition.
Indeed. That's the big one. Competition, not in competition.
Not in
You know,
competition.
yeah.
Like you are
No.
not my competitor. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like we talked about it like briefly, like on the phone, not to give it away, but I feel like when you can do this, right, between a man and a woman, and you can have a good conversation and
Right.
it's respectful and an open dialogue and stuff like that, that we are stronger together. You know what I'm saying? We can do more together than we can apart.
Correct. Yeah. No personal challenges. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? So you had anything you wanted to add or anything that people should know about you, Avery, before, I want everybody to be able to contact you, but before we get into that, anything that people should know about you or that you wanted to add?
No, like nothing. I don't want you
Nothing.
guys to know anything about me. No, but
Right.
hopefully, no. But I do want to say this to you. Thank you. Thank you for having me on here, Jared. Thank you for connecting us. You were an amazing host. And I was actually talking to my Uber driver this weekend. I was in an Uber and we actually recorded some of our conversation, which I'll post later.
Right.
But I mentioned that I was going to be doing a live with you, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's like, I love him, I follow him," which I thought was, awesome. But no, thank you for having me on. I absolutely loved it. Hopefully, we can do it again. I love your stance, your perspective, all that kind of stuff. So no, it's good. I'm glad that you don't feel like you're the type that's like a solo man. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I got it on my own. I can do this. So
Yeah. Not at all. Not
no,
at
but
all.
thanks. And then I do want to ask you, how was your trip to ATL?
Man, it was it was definitely as usual. It was glorious. You know what I'm
Awesome.
saying? Got some new concepts like I talked to you about. I haven't
Hmm.
officially announced them yet because I'll be putting out some content, but
Right.
definitely doing some collabs on there and hopefully starting something new as well. We're putting out content in the streets,
Awesome.
on the pavement and things like that. So
Yes.
for sure, it's always a beautiful thing. I'm a foodie. So I had a good time for sure.
Good.
Absolutely appreciate you. Thanks for asking. Yeah, that's
No,
how I
no
want,
problem.
you know. So where can everyone, if they want to book a session with you, follow you or subscribe to you, check out any of your
Yes.
content, where can they find you at, Avery?
So you can find me on Instagram at Averi with an I _ Woodley, Woodley,
Mhm.
and on YouTube. But if you want to contact me about working with me, whether it's long term or like I also do like just conversations, right? Like
Right.
one-on-one conversations. just email me. Do not send me a message on Instagram, right? Because I do get a lot of messages on Instagram and I may not see it. So don't take it
Right.
personal. If you ever message me on Instagram and you need me to see it, comment under like a random picture, like, well, a current one, right? Not one from like 2014, and say,
Right.
hey,
Right.
Avery, check your messages. But email me at info. So info at averywoodley.com. So it's easy. Info at averywoodley.com. And subscribe to my channel.
Gotcha. And like I already have for you guys. You can just look in the description. You can just click it right now. Her Instagram and her YouTube channel's on there. Her email is not on there, but you can find it on her Instagram if you subscribe.
Yes,
I
it's
know
the
some of
link
you
yes,
guys.
at the bio.
Yeah, some of you guys may not have Instagram, so I'll plug it in there, or you guys can just hit rewind just to get what she just said. But I'll plug it in there for you guys watching the restream. Her email address will be in there for you to check it out. So, with that being said, if you want to stick around real quick, Avery, I'm just going to do my commercials real quick.
Oh yeah, I did want to say one thing before your commercials. Everybody that joins, that watch live, and the people in the chat section, thank you so much, and thank you because I know I'm still kind of new to YouTube. Thank you for giving me a chance. But you guys have an amazing evening and a great rest of your week.
Absolutely, that is dope. Y'all heard what she said. So, if like I said, if you want to stick around real quick, I'm just going to run these little verbal commercials, and
I will.
you know. So anyway, y'all heard the beautiful Avery Woodley. Y'all go ahead and do everything that she just said just now. It's not up for debate. Just go ahead and do that. It's easy, easy like Sunday morning. You know what I'm saying? Hit subscribe to her channel. Let's run it up. Subscribe to her Instagram. Let's run that up even more. And you guys subscribe to the channel. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You guys know the vibes. Make sure you guys purchase all of my books and merch. If you want to book a session with Avery, we already gave you her information. If you want to book a session with yours truly, the link will be popping up on the restream, but it's also in the description below, the link tree. And purchase all my books and merch. Subscribe to all my channels. And with that being said, listen, guys, you guys have been wonderful, and I appreciate you guys rocking with us this evening. Maya said email already sent. Shout out to you, Maya. Uh, and much blessings and abundance. Peace be upon you all, and the mercy and blessings of the Almighty. And I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. I'm out of here. Peace.